My name is Ava Calder and I'm 31. My niece peeled the plastic off the $850 phone I bought her and giggled. Mom says if you disappeared tomorrow, no one would even notice. The room laughed. Not everyone, but enough to make honesty feel like an open window in winter. Lindsay, my older sister, didn't look up. She sat on the couch, scrolling, mouth tilted in that tiny, satisfied smile of someone who thinks the verdict was a long time coming. In the kitchen, Mom stirred something and pretended not to hear, shoulders lifting in a small shrug that read like approval. Dad didn't pretend. He chuckled, raised his beer, and said, "Well, she's not wrong." 30 voices murmured and sparkled around me, cousins, Uncle Gary, neighbors who know our front lawn better than our insides. A cake waited on the table, candles dark, but there were already flames in my chest, licking the edges of the air. "Thanks for the phone, Aunt Ava," my niece chirped, leaning into her mother like I'd handed her a napkin, not a month of my grocery budget. I nodded. I've had years of practice nodding while my mouth learns the taste of smoke. I was the fixer, the autopay, the subscription fairy who made streaming and lights, and oops, my card declined, disappear. The ghost with a wallet. Lindsay finally met my eyes. I saw it clearly, the flicker of satisfaction, not a blaze, just a pilot light, steady, ready, always on. "Okay, everyone, let's do cake," Mom called, bright, efficient, professional, at sweeping tension under frosting. People gathered at the table. Someone dimmed the lights. I moved to the counter. My jaw ached. My hands wouldn't stop wanting to do something. Slice, serve, clean, apologize for breathing. I reached into my pocket and felt my phone. I didn't plan it. I didn't storyboard it. I just decided. 2 taps. The app I built their lives on opened like a secret door. Tap, tap. Autopays, off. Shared cards, removed. Family plan lines I opened, suspended. Streaming services, cloud storage, that extra data. Lindsay swore she needed for work, Mom's grocery delivery, Dad's favorite premium sports package. All of it, gone. Candles flared in the living room. A chorus of off-key voices rose. I stood in the kitchen and watched my reflection in the microwave door. Calm, almost bored. The look I wear when something inside me is breaking in a way I'll respect later. I didn't say goodbye. I slipped down the hallway, through the coat pile, and out the front door into air that didn't smell like other people's laughter. I drove to my apartment in silence, packed a small bag in under 10 minutes. Socks, toothbrush. The jacket that still held the scent of Ethan's cologne from last week, when he'd said, gently, "You keep calling it love when it's invoicing." In the back of my closet, I pulled out the black backpack. Old, scuffed, patient. It had a purpose now. I filled it carefully, not with clothes, not with cash, with paper. Paper that doesn't negotiate, doesn't charm, doesn't gaslight. Receipts, bank statements, screenshots, lease transfers. The foreclosure rescue I orchestrated and paid to save my parents' house, twice. The utilities I covered because the lights, mysteriously, paid themselves. The auto-pay logs for Lindsay's rent during the bad months that stretched into 2 years. And on top, like a bow, the receipt for tonight's $850. I drove back. The party had molted into post-cake chaos. Wrapping paper, sugar-high voices, adults loosening belts and timelines. No one noticed me slip in. No one ever does until a bill comes due. I walked down the hallway and left the backpack by the stairs, the way you leave truth where people will eventually trip over it. Outside, the night felt wider than it had any right to be. I didn't look back. The pounding started at 8:06 the next morning. Dad's fist on my apartment door, heavy and certain like he'd invented knocking. "Open up, you think you can just do this?" I watched the wood vibrate and said nothing. "I know you're in there. You think you're smart? You think you're better than us?" His voice cracked. Not just rage, something thinner, colder, fear. Silence swallowed him whole. Footsteps, a slammed car door, wind. 20 minutes later, my phone lit. "Mom, how could you do this to your own family?" I didn't reply. Lindsay called 6 times. I let them ring, watched the screen go dark. Lindsay, text. "You think you're clever? We don't need you. See how long you last without a family." I smiled at the window. Was that a threat or a promise? That evening, I was stepping out of the shower when I heard the key in the lock. I froze. No one had a key. No one should have a key. The door burst open. Dad stormed in, red-faced, sweat shining. Mom behind him, eyes wild. I wrapped the towel tighter and leaned against my kitchen counter like it was a witness stand. "You think you can lock me out?" he bellowed. "Get out," I said, calm enough to hear my own heartbeat. "This is what you've become?" Mom shrilled. "Abandoning your own family?" "You used me," I said. "There's a difference." Dad stepped closer, fist clenched. The old choreography. The threat that never credits the fear behind it. "Try it," I said, quiet steel. His hand trembled and didn't move. "What did you do?" Mom's voice broke. "The cards don't work. Lindsay can't pay her bills. The mortgage—" "Right," I said. "Everything I paid for, everything I managed, it's over." Dad laughed then, a bitter, hollow bark. "You think we need you?" I glanced at the bent key in the lock they'd forced. "Seems like you do." "Beg?" he spat when I said nothing. "You think—" "Enough," I said, and the words sliced the air clean. "I'm done." Mom's hands shook. "Please, this is your family." "All you have," I corrected. "I'm done being your safety net, your bank, your doormat." Dad's face twisted. "You'll regret this. You'll come crawling back." "I won't." They left, slamming a door that didn't belong to them. The building exhaled. So did I. They tried again, of course. Lindsay appeared at my office the next day, mascara like war paint. Security walked her out gently while she shouted words that used to undo me, and now just sounded like static. The landlord stopped me in the hall that night, eyes apologetic. "Your family is downstairs making a scene." I told him to call the police. "But it's your family," he said, like that word is a universal skeleton key. "Not anymore," I answered, and meant it. In the quiet after, I made tea. I folded laundry. I listened to my breath until it belonged only to me. I thought of Ethan, of the way he says my name when he wants to be kind and firm at the same time. I also thought of Sienna, the ex who texts mutual friends dramatic versions of everyone else's lives. I could already feel the story she'd tell about me. Manipulative, ungrateful, a woman who weaponized money. Let her. Paper doesn't care about rumors. Somewhere across town, I imagined the black backpack being unzipped, the weight of proof sliding out in a rush like wind. Let them read it. Let the room go quiet for once. Let the paper speak. 3 days passed before the next knock came, softer this time, more desperate than angry. I didn't open the door. Through the peephole, I saw Lindsay, her hair tangled, mascara faded into bruised half-circles under her eyes. She held her phone like it was a weapon she didn't know how to fire. "Ava," she said, voice cracking, "please, just talk to me." I watched her for a full minute. The same sister who, 3 nights ago, laughed when her daughter repeated Mom's favorite cruelty, now trembling outside my apartment like a child who lost the way home. But I stayed silent. "Mom hasn't stopped crying," she said. "Dad's furious. You humiliated him. You humiliated all of us." I almost laughed. The irony, them accusing me of humiliation after years of emotional pickpocketing disguised as love. She sniffled. "The bills aren't paid, Ava. The utilities, everything's off. What are we supposed to do?" My hand hovered over the doorknob, but I dropped it. "You'll figure it out," I whispered, but only to myself. That night, Ethan came over, carrying takeout and a look that said he'd been reading too much between my texts. "You haven't slept," he said gently. "Is that a diagnosis or an observation?" He smiled faintly. "Both." We ate in silence for a while, the kind of silence that used to comfort me but now pressed too close. Finally, he said, "Sienna called me." "Of course she did." "She said your family's saying you stole from them, that you drained their accounts." I stared at him, too tired to be shocked. She always did love drama. "She's implying you used me too," he added carefully. That made me pause. "And do you believe her?" His eyes didn't flinch. "No, but I wanted to hear you say it." "Ethan," I said quietly, "if I ever used you, you'd already know. You'd feel it in the way I apologize for things I didn't break." He nodded slowly. "Good, because I deleted her number." A faint smile ghosted across my face. "That might be the healthiest thing either of us has done all year." He reached for my hand. "You don't have to fight this alone." "I do," I said. "Not because you wouldn't stand beside me, but because I have to see who I am when I stop standing for them." His thumb brushed over my knuckles, grounding me. "Then I'll just wait at the finish line." 2 mornings later, my landlord knocked. He shifted awkwardly, holding a folded paper. "Your parents are downstairs again, and your sister. They're making a scene." I rubbed my temples. "Tell them to leave." He blinked. "They said they're your family." "Not anymore," I said. He hesitated. "They're threatening to call the police." "Tell them to go ahead. I'd love to file a restraining order while we're at it." His mouth opened, closed, then nodded. Through the window, I watched as Dad paced by the curb, Mom clinging to his arm, Lindsay crying theatrically for anyone who might pass by. Neighbors slowed, whispered. My father shouted something up toward my window. I didn't hear the words, but the posture was the same. A man performing rage to hide the fear underneath. Security arrived, words were exchanged, then the three of them were ushered off the property, still shouting, still performing a family tragedy that no longer had a stage. I closed the curtain and made myself tea. For the first time, I realized silence has a taste. It's not peace yet, too metallic, too sharp, but it's cleaner than guilt. That evening, my phone buzzed with a message from Mom. How could you do this to your own family? Then another. You're cruel. Your father hasn't slept. Lindsay's in tears. You've broken us. The guilt landed, heavy, familiar. But something new came after it. Doubt. Not of myself, but of the story I'd always been fed. For years, they'd called me generous when I gave, and selfish when I stopped. Loving when I said yes, ungrateful when I said no. I used to think I was their backbone, but maybe I was just the wallet they mistook for a spine. I typed a reply, erased it, typed again. Finally, I sent 2 words, you're welcome. Later that week, Ethan stopped by again. He found me sitting on the floor, surrounded by documents, proof of every loan, transfer, receipt. The black backpack sat open beside me like a small, dark witness. He crouched down. You're cataloging the past? Just accounting for ghosts, I said. He picked up 1 page, frowning. Your name's on everything, every bill, every card. That's the point, I said. They called it family. The bank calls it liability. He looked at me for a long time. You know they'll try again. They won't stop at showing up. I know, I said, and they're not built to live without control. So what's next? I folded a statement, slid it back into the backpack. They'll open this bag one day, and for the first time, they'll see what I really gave them. Ethan's brow furrowed. Proof? Evidence, I said, of every time I paid for their peace and called it love. I didn't sleep that night. The moon cast strips of light across the apartment floor, slicing everything into before and after. When dawn came, I brewed coffee, set my phone on the counter, and turned off the ringer. Then I whispered to the empty room, they're going to find it soon. Somewhere across the city, in that too bright living room with its sugar-stained carpet and performative laughter, I knew the black backpack was waiting. And when they opened it, when the paper spoke louder than their voices ever had, everything would change. The message came on a Thursday evening, simple and almost kind. Dad, let's talk, no drama, just you and me. Saturday, our team's playing. We'll settle this. The words felt rehearsed, like someone else had typed them for him. I could almost hear Mom whispering, be calm, don't scare her off. Ethan saw the text light up my phone. You're not actually going, are you? I am, I said. He frowned. Ava, it's bait. He wants a scene. I know. Then why go? I sipped my coffee. Because I want one too, just not the kind he's expecting. Saturday came with winter light and a wind that cut through my jacket. The stadium was a blur of noise and motion. The smell of pretzels, the metallic roar of thousands of strangers choosing sides that didn't matter. I found him easily. Section 12, row F. Just like the text said, he was alone, the seats around him conveniently empty, the black backpack clutched in his lap like a hostage. When he saw me, he smiled, wide and unnatural. Surprised you showed up. I never ignore a formal invitation, I said, sliding into the seat beside him. He leaned close, lowering his voice under the roar of the crowd. You think you're clever, huh? Running off, cutting us off, but you left something behind. His fingers drummed the backpack. We found this. I looked at it, then at him. Good. I was starting to think you'd never clean up. His jaw tightened. You think you've won? This isn't a game, I said. Oh, I think it is. You've been stealing from us, haven't you? All those bills you said you paid. What a joke. I didn't blink. Open it. What? The bag, open it. Let's see what's inside. He hesitated, hands twitching. The crowd erupted as the home team scored, a wall of sound rising around us. I leaned closer. Go on, Dad. Show me what you think you found. I don't need to open it, he said, but his voice shook. We know what's in there. You've been hiding money, using us, manipulating us. I almost laughed. You mean keeping the lights on, paying your mortgage when the bank was calling, or rescuing the house you gambled away twice? Shut up, he hissed. Or maybe you're talking about the $850 phone I bought your granddaughter so she could tell me I don't matter? He turned red, his face tightening like a fist. You think you're better than us. I think I finally stopped being worse to myself. He grabbed the backpack handle, knuckles whitening. You don't talk to me like that. Like what? I said, still calm. Like someone who's seen you for who you are? He stood abruptly, shouting over the noise. A few heads turned. "Sit down," I said quietly, and there was something in my voice that made him obey. The silence between us thickened. "Go ahead," I said. "Unzip it. Show everyone." "You're bluffing." "Then prove me wrong." His breath came shallow. Finally, I reached over, pulled the zipper open, and tipped the backpack onto the empty seat between us. Papers, receipts, transfers, loan confirmations, copies of my bank drafts with their signatures, a printed screenshot of the mortgage payment schedule, my account number covering the red notice line, a single folded note on top, written in my handwriting, every lie paid in full. He froze. Around us, the crowd screamed for another touchdown. No one noticed our tiny war collapsing in silence. "This," I said, tapping the papers, "is what I hid. Not money. Proof. Every dollar I gave you, every time you said thank you and made it sound like an insult." He stared, eyes darting between the documents and me. "You wanted a show?" I said softly. "Here it is." "You'll regret this," he muttered. I smiled faintly. "I already did. That's why it's over." He swung then, slow, sloppy, the swing of a man who's never been sure of his own strength. His fist stopped inches from my face. He couldn't finish it. He never could. "I should have left you on the streets," he whispered. I leaned close enough to smell the cheap beer on his breath. "Funny," I said. "That's exactly what I thought about you." His hand fell, shoulders slumped, his face drained of color. I stood, gathered the papers, and let them fall at his feet. They scattered, sliding down the steps like dead leaves. "You wanted the truth," I said. "Now you have to live with it." People were staring now, a few whispering, phones angled discreetly. I didn't care. I turned and walked up the steps. Behind me, Dad called out, his voice cracking. "You can't just leave." I didn't stop. "You'll come crawling back." I didn't look back. By the time I reached the exit, the noise of the crowd swallowed him whole. Outside, winter sunlight hit the metal railing, bright enough to make my eyes sting. I took a breath and texted Ethan, "It's done." He replied almost instantly, "Do you feel better?" I stared at the words, at the trembling reflection of my face in the phone screen. "No, but I feel finished." Then I turned the phone off. The roar of the stadium faded behind me, replaced by something quieter, almost sacred. The sound of no one else deciding what I owed. The next morning, my phone looked like an open wound. 37 missed calls, 15 voicemails, 62 unread messages. Mom, Dad, Lindsay, all of them cycling through rage, guilt, and panic like it was a family relay. Mom, you embarrassed your father in front of strangers. Lindsay, you've destroyed this family for attention. Then a softer one. Mom, we didn't mean to hurt you. Please come home. We can fix this. I stared at the screen, the familiar tone of manipulation wrapped in apology. Guilt was their currency. They spent it freely because I'd always converted it into action. Not anymore. I opened a new note on my phone and typed 2 words, "No contact." Then I set the phone face down and went to the bakery. Ethan was already there, sleeves rolled, hands deep in dough. He looked up when I came in. "You made the news," he said quietly. "What?" He nodded toward his phone on the counter. A local gossip site had posted a blurry photo from the stadium. My father mid-shout, me walking away. The caption read, "Family feud goes public." "Congratulations," Ethan said dryly. "You've officially gone viral in your own zip code." I half laughed, half winced. "Sienna's behind this, isn't she?" "She shared it on her story," he said. "Something about how money can't buy class." I rolled my eyes. "Of course." He hesitated, then added, "You could sue." "I could," I said, wiping my hands on an apron, "but quiet costs less." Days passed. The bakery became my island. The whir of mixers, the smell of sugar and yeast, the rhythm of work that didn't ask for apologies. Mom's texts turned from pleading to angry again. "Your father's blood pressure is through the roof. You're killing him with stress. This is not how a daughter behaves. People are talking, Ava." Lindsay's messages swung like a pendulum. One day, "You're a monster." Next, "I can't sleep. Please just talk to me." I replied once and only once. "You always said I was invisible. Try living with it." Then silence. A week later, Ethan came over after closing. He carried wine and worry in equal measure. "Are you okay?" he asked, setting the bottle down. "I'm quiet," I said. "That's new for me." He studied my face. "I know that look. You're waiting for the next storm." "There's always another one," I said. "They don't know how to stop when the performance ends." He nodded. "You've been in survival mode so long, you don't know what peace feels like." I smiled faintly. "You make it sound simple." "It's not," he said, "but it's yours now." He reached into his coat pocket and pulled out an envelope. These came in the mail today. It was a stack of printouts, screenshots, headlines, gossip posts. At the top, woman abandons family after stealing their savings. The comments below were exactly what I expected. Strangers choosing sides in a story they didn't understand. Look who submitted it, Ethan said. At the bottom of the post, submitted by Sienna R. I laughed, the sound brittle but real. Of course she did. He leaned forward. You want me to handle it? I shook my head. No. Let her shout into the void. I've learned something about noise. It dies faster when you stop echoing it. He smiled softly. You're terrifying when you're calm. That's the goal. The next morning, I woke to a letter slid under my door. No return address, but I didn't need one. The handwriting was familiar. Sharp loops, impatient pen pressure. Your father isn't well. Lindsay's fallen behind on rent. We're falling apart. Please come home. You're the only one who can fix this. I read it twice, then folded it neatly and placed it in the trash. For years, I thought fixing them was proof of love. Now I saw it for what it was. Debt collection disguised as family duty. I made coffee, opened the curtains, and let sunlight fall across my kitchen table. It looked empty, but honest. 2 months later, the messages stopped. The silence was almost startling. No more calls, no more guilt, no more emotional overdrafts. The world got quieter, but it didn't feel lonely. I started hearing things I'd never noticed before. The hum of the refrigerator, the faint scratch of my pen across paper, my own heartbeat steadying. I met Ethan for lunch one afternoon. He looked at me and said, You seem different. I stopped translating peace into guilt, I said. He grinned. That's my favorite kind of fluency. We ate quietly, no explanations needed. That evening, I walked home past the corner cafe where I used to buy cakes for Lindsay's birthdays. The window display was new, the clerk inside unfamiliar. I didn't feel anger, just distance, like watching an old movie in a language I used to speak. Outside, a street musician was playing a slow, aching tune on his guitar. His voice was rough, imperfect, human. I stopped, listened, and when he finished, I dropped a $20 bill into his open case. He nodded, eyes crinkling. Thanks, miss. I smiled. You're welcome. It wasn't about generosity. It wasn't about guilt. It was about choice. When I got home, I unlocked my door, set down my bag, and stood still. No messages, no knocks, no family waiting for answers. Just quiet, the kind that doesn't ask you to prove you deserve it. I sat by the window, watching city lights blink like distant stars. I thought of everything I'd lost, everything I'd paid for, everything I'd finally stopped financing, emotionally and otherwise. Freedom wasn't loud. It didn't celebrate itself. It just existed, clean and solid, like breath after drowning. And for the first time, I realized silence doesn't negotiate. It never did.